Hello again, welcome to another Toku Ramblings. New angles. Had to move stuff around, so yeah, this is probably gonna be how things go for the future unless I change stuff up again. But yes, time for more Toku reviews. Today we are talking about Garo Makai Senki, the 2011 sequel to the original Chapter of the Black Gold fan, basically Garo 2 in many ways. So after the events of both Chapter of the Black Wolf and Red Requiem, Koga has been promoted to being the Centaurial Knight and now answers to the new watchdog since, you know. But before he can take on this new assignment, he's attacked by a mysterious red masked priest. Well, it doesn't seem like he does anything initially besides just blow him back. He inflicted Koga with the Mark of Death, or Seal of Destruction, depending on translation. I've seen both. That now saps Koga of his strength every time he uses his armor and eventually kills him. Despite the risk, and choosing to once again not tell Garo the truth, he proceeds to continue his job and is now partnered with Makai priest Leo Fu, a Makai priest prodigy who had invented the Garo first seen Red Record. But as he performs his new job, Koga finds that he's not the only knight who's been afflicted by the Mark, as seemingly every other Makai knight has been cursed by the Red. Has been attacked and cursed by the Red. And now he must find a way to end the curse before the entire world is thrown into chaos. So, as I stated, this is very much Garo season 2. It carries over most of the cast from the first, main cast from the first. But I do think one of the things that Makai Senki does have over the first season is there is a better feeling of serialization going on. Here, we see the effects of the Red Priest's machination throughout the entire show and his plans rather than just mostly forgetting about it until like the last quarter, which, yes, a lot of the main plot does happen closer to the end, but it feels a lot more natural. It still feels like episodic story lines that don't initially come together, but you see it again. A lot of the main cast from Chapter to Black Wolf returns, as stated before. Koga returns, Garo returns in the second episode. Ray shows up again. Gonza. The Ring. That's Zarba returns. I really do. Like, you can tell that Koga is a much different person from the start of Chapter as he is here. He's a lot more willing to tell people he probably wouldn't have told about the seal and taking their help, which is a nice continuation of his arc of being more open. Despite being the main character, some of the episodes end up focusing on Ray doing his own episodes, and honestly, I think he does have some of the better episodes of the season, especially like the samurai who is brought into the modern era, who wants a final fight against an incredible, and is easily the highlight of the season. He doesn't get much in terms of any kind of character development, seeing as how his big arc was finished at the end of the first season. Is more just as Koga's lantern helps someone need it. Many of the supporting characters, because I feel also have some real moments. The big issue is a repeat of Chapter of the Black Wolf, in that we have a whole redo thing of Koga not being coming out with the whole curse thing, which she does take a lot better here compared to the Black Well, which is nice. It shows them in their relationship. But it's just it feels overdone, and we could have had something different. Like, she knows and tries her best to keep appearances, but maybe breaks down knowing that he's probably going to die. Jabi, she shows up again and gets her own episode. It's nice that they're using her still. Reika and Shigoto from Red Requiem and pop up here for an episode or two, and I kind of like her interactions with Garo. Like, meh. Shigoto acts like a weird dick when the Red Priest reveals his gambit of making the priest into the new defenders and basically ending the Makai 9. It's like, dude, people might die, and you more or less are more concerned about that. That's not cool, man. That is not cool. The only real major characters to talk about here is Leo and the Red Priest, and I really like Leo. I like what he brings to this show. Like, the little snippets of Makai technology we saw in Red Requiem is shown in greater focus here through Leo, as he is the one who apparently created all this stuff. His laid-back personality gives him a nice balance to Koga, and his interactions with Cal, who are really neat. I feel like the whole twist of him, oh, is he the Red Priest or is he not, is just, I never once thought that was going to be the thing. It's a bit better set up compared to Ray thinking Garo was the one who killed his family, but at the same time, like, oh, you shouldn't trust him. Like Jabi telling Koga not to trust Leah. Leah's like, I've seen this before so many times, and I am more shocked when it actually turns out to be that thing. Like, Crow from the Legend of Heroes disappearing when C shows up. That's not a big shock, and I don't think it was meant to be a big shock unless it really was. And I do think the Red Priest is in a way a step up from the first seasons. Like, I do think the first season does have the iconography and is just much more threatening of a villain, but at the same time, he's a much bigger presence here, since we see his effect on the Makai Order and how people react to it, rather than just a character in the background. And it really helps him. And he gets some really solid fights throughout to show that he is not to be ignored. You know? Now, that's something I think he has over Bargo. He is smart and actually threatening. This is an actual intellectual. He's still more standard. I was passed over for someone else and now I'm super angry, Grar. And he does repeat the trope of reviving age-old horror for his purpose. And this one does not get much characterization either, and that is a problem that seems to keep popping up in the seasons I've watched. Maybe that's fixed later, hopefully. Hopefully, because it's an interesting design that I can't show for YouTube's sake. Again, the final fight against it is gorgeous. The series still looks incredible. Fight scenes are still well choreographed. The big one is that Chanbar fight we get in the Samurai episode is the best. And even the CGI looks a bit better. I think the first season may have a bit better of a diversity in horror designs compared to this one. I mean, there was the CG clown and clock that did not age particularly well, but you're gonna remember that. I feel that while a lot of these horrors do look better and they've cut back on CG horrors. There are some that kind of just fade. I do think the big standards are, of course, Kagemutsu and Erengu, who I'm really fond of all the music here. Here, the first theme, as usual, has this kind of mysterious feel to it, but it's a bit lighter compared to the oppressiveness that the first one has. Second theme still is amazing as always. The first one, I feel, has the majesty, has the better majestic feel and sound to it. But this one's just a rocker that just keeps going until it is finished to get you pumped for the show. Aside from that, the new suits that are introduced are really lit. Flash's darker color scheme bounces off Garo's, and I kind of can't decide if I like this one more or the first season more, because I think both have extremely solid episodes. Like, this one has the samurai episode, which is really incredible. I like Jabi's episode personally. The one where Koga competes in the card tournament is also really solid. That one's a decent episode too. There's the weird ones where a man will have a fetish for manhood covers, ends up creating a portal for horrors. Is weird, and it just feels... It's not a bad episode, but it just feels like it wasn't the most special episode, so they just gave this weird manhole cover thing to give it some kind of unique standout. But, yeah. In a way, I kind of view this and Chapter the Black Wolf as sort of like, one long Toku season. I mean, yes, they are kind of divided by the whole fact that this starts this was 5 years after the first season. And their stories are not interconnected. But it's kind of hard to decide which one is better. I do think Chapter of Black Wolf probably earns a bit more just because it was also the first one, but this one's also really solid. So we have a couple of, since this video was initially kind of short, we have a couple of additional, what I would consider sort of Phase 2 content things. So first up, we have Lament in the Dark Dragon, which sort of serves as an epilogue to Makai. Senki, though it is mostly in its own self-contained world that you could tentatively watch it without needing to watch Makai Senki, but you get a bit better understanding. I think so. At the end of the Makai Senki, Koga made a deal with Garo to save the Makai Knights when Sigma attempted... Yeah, I forgot to mention Sigma. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? I didn't even mention the Red Priest's name. Blah. Well, I mentioned it now. Sigma, which transported him close enough to end the curse. Yes. Said quest involves traveling to the Promised Land to retrieve the Fang of Sorrow. And upon arriving, Koga gets Metroid. He loses Zarba, his cool coat, and not long after awakening, his sword transforms into a dog and runs off. Well, it's awesome. Well, it's semi-awesome. And without his trusty equipment, Koga now has to locate his stuff and the Fang of Sorrow as he meets a cast of colorful characters ready to become knights, a blue lady, a scarecrow, and comes to blows with an evil cleric. Kind of like a weird mashup of Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. Lament of the Black Dragon is not both movies sort of mishmashed together, more taking plot stuff. Like, yes, there's a scarecrow and an evil queen in a fantastical world where the normal rules are but you kind of can feel the influences from the so you're kind of feeling like almost an antithesis to the original Chapter of the Black Wolf. We've gothic horror aesthetic Make of these creepy monsters bent on your destruction to more of a straight fantasy. Say, for some, that may be disappointing. But honestly, for where we were at the time, this was arguably the best looking Garo had been in a while. Just there's a budget behind it. The CG does not look meh. It's blended way better compared to the show, where it just felt off depending on the incident. But there are some impressive vistas created through CG. There are legitimately great looking scenes that put even modern films to shame. But even then, there is sort of this could exist. Despite the chaotic looks that some locales can be, it's a world that feels well explored. And at least helps to push the villain's standard, I'm so beautiful and only I will be beautiful and hoard all beautiful things to him. And in reality, she's ugly because of how poorly she treats others. I like how she tricks her nature and how he's innately not, only because he has his own reasons sort of thing. It kind of comes around to be sort of a good foil to Koga, and Blue Lady Kyria shows how the sorrow the world can bring through death can give rise to a new. Though some characters do get a bit annoying. Characters, they'll never really take the place of the main cast, and that's sort of the disappointing thing about this film. Besides Koga, the rest of the cast from the TV show are delegated to a but it has a whopping 2 scenes. If you're hoping for more time with Ray, Kaoru, and the other knights, that's another disappointment. Also Zara, but doesn't really get much to say. Here, he gets an entertaining fight against Koga, but he's quiet for a good time. Kind of laments that this feels less like a conclusion for a cast and more just the fun epilogue journey to be. The most closure this film has is the reappearance of Taiga to have one last meeting with Koga and tell him more about the Promised Land. Heck, even the Garo armor doesn't appear till the end of the movie. Which the film still has some excellent fight scenes and, of course, choreography. But if you were hoping for some in-suit fights, it's mostly left for the ending. And, Ray? What is with that beard you're rocking? I know this might be nitpicking, but it looks like he started to shave parts of his face but gave up and just left the hair on his chin. They don't say anything about this to him. It's just ugh. It's not a goatee or anything, it's just meh. But overall, this was an enjoyable epilogue to the series. And taking place at the same time as this was Togen no Fue, or I don't remember that yet. I'm easy and I probably should. Yes, a special that focuses on the 2 primary Makai priests that Koga interacted with Reika and Javi. So Reika is practicing with Javi, and she's okay, well, after a training exercise between the 2, they go their separate ways, but are pushed towards north, forced by 2 other priests, Agi and Magi, who lure them in regards to dealing with Sogen's flute. And say it with me, an ancient artifact that was used to either seal or release orders, and they give differing stories to the respective priest, and that the other one that they're interacting with is a fallen priest who's out to use the flute for evil. The resulting story sees the new teacher-student relationship, Reika basically go through her arc again from Red Requiem in regards to her recklessness. And that's sort of the issue the special initially has. The treatment she basically reverts to how she was in Red Requiem. And in that case, it made more sense since she had a personal connection to the villain, which caused more of her reckless actions to... Here, she never takes a moment to think that the girl may not be fully honest with... Person is telling her everything, and shock of all shock, they're not, and she's intended to be used as a sacrifice. Mind you, it is a double-edged sword. If they did the reverse of Javi being the victim and need to be rescued, it would have been reusing another plot point from another movie. Okay. I will interact with you in a minute. Seems like too much love sometimes. But despite that, seeing the two centers after their appearances had been rather sparse, they have solid chemistry. Okay. That being said, there is some mistakes regarding support in the end. And so, near the beginning of the film, Ren from the midnight chapter, from the epilogue of Chapter the Black Rose show, up and takes over a group of students, which makes it seem like she'd come to help the duo in the climax, keeping with how it's about girl power and stuff, but no! Shigeto shows up and spends basically the rest of the runtime being the butt monkey of the film and just punching back with the villains as Jabi tries to free Reg. Kind of making Ren's appearance feel pointless in so many ways. The Yagis make good villains, sort of a contrasting relationship to Reka and Ja, being that they initially have a closer relationship and their giddier personalities make them more unsettling. Magi looks like she had a lot of her dialogue redubbed in post-production. And that just comes in a way that what she is saying and her body match don't feel like they... It's not completely off-putting, but if you notice it, you notice it. I also do like the focus on the priest combat and showing the mixture of martial arts and magic. And guess what? It ends with a giant CJ monster they have to fight, and they do that foreshadowing thing where the killing move was something they were practicing earlier. I have my faults with this, but as far as one-off adventures go, it's fine. I really wish that they did something different with the story instead of redoing Rekka's arc and Shigeto not being a butt monkey. But it's worth watching if you're a fan of female action stars of Toku. And now we are at probably the most disappointing of these special shows, Zero Black Blood. I innately was really anticipating this. Zero had become arguably my favorite character in all of Garo up to this point. And the special he is in is not about him. Instead, the special is about the Makai Order of Discovery, and that a horror has created sort of this commune of horrors and humans living together, with the catch being that once a month, a human has to be sacrificed to create a dulce of blood to satiate the horrors. Now, this sounds not bad, but it causes them extreme pain throughout, and of course, humans being sacrificed. So, in order to stop these sacrifices, the Order sends Makai Priest Kane and his trainee Yuna to slay the commune's leader, Ring, and free the humans that have fallen into his community. Oh, you're wondering about Ray? Oh, well, Ray just ends up discovering the plot he's out on patrol one night when the Dolce inadvertently escaped. So now he's here to help. Yeah, despite the name, Ray really could have been literally any other kind of Makai. And it wouldn't have mattered. He gets no development here, no actors that feel, I mean, I like seeing Rei Fuhita, but he feels completely negligible to this story since the main focus is on the main priest Yuna. Since she has a past with Ring since he took her mother from her and by extension killed her father. Of her essentially destroying her family. The focus should be on her. And then there's Kane, who has an umbrella, and that's kind of it. I almost forget about him. The issue is that both Rei and Kane's role could have been filled by already existing characters. If Tsubasa was filling the role, almost nothing would have changed. And even then, Yuna's arc is a bingo card of stuff you've heard before. I'm a tough girl who lost family to Big Bad and wished to become Makai Knight, but can't because girl. And I've always not been a fan of the whole girls can't become Makai Knights thing. It just felt so dumb. And after the full 6 episodes, you really wish she got the armor. Or something akin to that. But no, that would break the lore. I mean, if you were fond of her actress during her time in Toku, this could be a bit more, but yeah. And again, this feels just like it's going through the motions of Yamayo Tarasu Mono again. A utopia society ruled by horrors, a lost family member that turns out to be alive and being used by villains. Music plays a key role. All the people in the utopia act out against the heroes. It just feels so rehashed and recycled, with the only thing... Okay, I should probably... It's not one for one, yeah. There are some differences that set this apart. It's a much smaller society compared to the Utopia City. I do think Ring is a much better final villain than Kaneshiro, and he does raise interesting ideas about horrors who may want coexistence. He's still the bad guy because sacrificing people for a utopia is just not right. And I like that it's an actual human and who is the villain. It gives something more recognizable than just CG monster, which, yes, he becomes. But he's probably one of the more interesting villains this series has brought forth, bringing ideas that probably would be better explored in a special that wasn't 6 episodes long. And yes, the other thing this has over Yami is that the suits are not CGI. Meaning there's much more intensive and dramatic fights. Fights age a lot better than the CGI extravaganza. But, again, the characters. There's a lot that could have been done with Reza Sar. How he ticks when... Since this is primarily focused on him and he's on him to share the spotlight, how he ticks when he's doing and not dragged down by his past. We only get slight glimpses of how he acts normally when he's in the bar, and by extension, the humans living in Ring's utopia. How do they feel about potentially being sacrificed? Are they fine with it? And even then, it's just your standard outcast, people on the run for crime, but it's just... I really hate giving this a bit of a... saying this is not particularly that great, but it feels so tired. It repeats a lot of previous arcs, and even Ring and by extension Utopia don't help to make this feel unique in its own way unless you really want essentially an abridged version of Yamayo Tarasu Mono mixed with Red Requiem. It's fine, but it could have been so much better. As always, you can do the things like make YouTube recognize me as someone when worth subscribing to, and we'll see you next week for our first. No, we have a movie coming up, so it'll be a shorter one next week.